What's up, everybody? I hope everybody's well. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that kind of good stuff. And I received a phone call. Man, these buses get longer and longer, right? These city buses, man. This one's like, God, two buses in one. Anyway, so I received a question about, thanking me. Well, not really thanking me, I guess, but mentioning why someone watches these types of videos and just is trying to prepare or thinking about how they're going to talk to their teenage children about dating. First of all, thank you so much for watching. Second of all, I've got a playlist for the ladies and for the men, right? And so I've addressed some of the things that ladies should do. Some of the names and titles are exactly escaping me right now, but something about how women should vet men, hold the line. I think there's another one, how ladies should hold the line or something like that. So you can go check those out. But I will try to make this one more succinct, because I think that this is a bigger problem than I think that we're willing to really kind of acknowledge. And, there's right now as I record this, there's this thing going on about black fatigue, and there's two black fatigues. One is more official. One is written by a book whose lady's last name is Winters. She goes through these psychological and physiological aspects of racism every day, and the other one is this whole black fatigue incident, or white folks in particular are sick of the ghetto ratchetness that they see in black American culture, in particular when they watch a TikTok video or Instagram or whatever and see, what some degenerate type of behavior. And if you haven't seen this graduation video, watch this. All right, so we're all, listen, just to be clear, we're all sick of that. We're all sick of this type of behavior. And as I looked at that particular video, I noticed that the vast majority, if not all of them, are women or ladies. Just saying. Just saying. So I think, there may be a longer video, maybe somebody's trying to edit it out, or edit up the guys or whatever, but I didn't see it that many or any. All right, so what would I tell my children if they were teenagers about how to date? You're absolutely right to be concerned about this. This is an issue. This is an issue. This is an issue. Now I can remember. Obviously, I raised three teenagers in my house at a time, and then it's gonna be a long video. And then I had some godchildren who I would talk to on a pretty regular basis to try to get them to understand what was coming up. Now I'm going to try to be projective in my thinking here. I'm going to try to do some foreshadowing here and try to see, where the world is going at, right? And there was a lady who was in her 30s. Now, if you're raising teenagers, I would assume you're in your 30s or 40s, or somewhere around there. And at 52, I'm grandpa age right now. What the heck was that? I'm grandpa age right now, that's not really my thing there. But it could happen, I guess. Hopefully not. But so what I wanted to say about raising children. One of the things, you got to read the times, you got to read the tea leaves and see what's coming up. And for these kids, man, you talking about raising people who are going to be adults one day and how they're going to navigate this dating field. And again, I started to say there was a young lady who did a video about her son, and she was putting her son on game, talking about her son should not be, I don't know if you'll be able to find it to clip it, to not be doing the most when it comes to buying kids buying his little girlfriend presents, taking her out to dinner, all this kind of stuff. You're a teenager, man. Take her for a slice of pizza or a burger or whatever, man. just elaborate type of dates and buying her gold necklaces and chains and earrings and all this kind of stuff. You should not be doing that kind of stuff. So that would be one thing I would tell my son. I would definitely tell my son. Let me start this off with the ladies here. The ladies are running into guys who are checking out. Ladies, teenagers are running into guys who are checking out. They don't know. Ladies will not know, and I'm saying ladies. I'm speaking in particular for this episode for teenagers. The teenage girls are not understanding, are not growing up in an environment, wholesale, I'm sure it's happening somewhere, where guys are just overly approaching, right? You know, you grow up going to the mall. A lot of malls are closed now. Growing up going to the park, watching boys play basketball. I don't even know if that's being done anymore. You know, these boys are sitting online playing video games, right? Now girls got to get into video games. And, you know, I guess they're meeting each other through that, you know, through Twitch chats and other things like that in order to hook up, right? If they're doing it at all, if the guys are even interested at all. Because these boys are hearing that you got to be so tall and this and that, right? And that was never, ever the case. And let me just pause here. That is not, you know, you got to get off social media. That's not the case. You know, if you go outside and see the world, you'll see people all the time. I go the park I go to walk in, there's constantly dudes walking with beautiful women, or at least a woman, and they're not, you know, these, you know, they got bellies and all this other stuff. So you don't got to worry about all that. So just go outside, see the world, meet people where they're at, and all that kind of stuff. So, but girls, I think, on the wholesale are not meeting guys who are into that type of stuff, who are into going to play basketball, or going to the park and doing this, or going to the gym, or you know, going to amusement parks. You know, we used to go to amusement parks and try to see how many numbers we would get. So go to the park and see how many numbers we could get. Go to the mall, go to the movies and on a movie night and just see how many numbers we could get, right? We used to do stuff like that, right? That type of competition, that type of putting yourself out there, I think is not being done in wholesale and in mass, certainly the way that it was done when we were growing up. So ladies got to understand that is a changing dynamic and changing environment. You're going to run into guys, and this is going to be, I'm going to try to make this as PG as possible here, but these teenage girls are going to run into teenage boys who can't perform because they're watching porn all day, because they're watching corn all day, because they are, becoming addicted at early ages. I'm talking 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, watching this and becoming hooked on that and thinking these are their first set of sexual experiences, first set of sexual knowledge base because of smartphones and computers and all that. And and this is what it is, right? And so now they're having problems performing later on in life, or they're asking for such extreme things that ladies aren't comfortable doing, or feel bad about, or think is really love, but it's really not, and this, that, and the other, right? And that stuff is just going to grow in its extremity to proportions that we can only guesstimate about, right? So this is some of the things that women are running into, right? There's something like the number is offhand is escaping me, but the number of boys who are claiming to be incels or virgins at the age of 30, I'm not exactly sure how much I believe of that, because I think that if they really wanted it, they could go out there and get it. But the point is that they're not approaching. They're scared to approach. They're scared of their own shadows, right? It's easier to chat someone up in a DM versus going out there and meeting someone in real life at a grocery store or whatever and try to talk to them, right? There was a day and time when, we used to sit on our, your mom go in the car, or your mom take you to the store, or whatever, your teenage boy, you sit in the car, or maybe even walk around the store with her. And, you see a girl across the aisle or whatever, or you see a girl walking to the parking lot, you get out the car and try to holler at her and get her number. And getting shot down was part of the game. So that, these girls out these days are growing up without that experience of that happening to them. And so now they're being told that, listen, if you want a guy's attention, you got to go out there and make it known And you got to get his attention. You know, Anita from Better Love Movement calls dropping a handkerchief. These girls probably don't even know what that reference even means. What does dropping a handkerchief mean? I got to go out there physically drop a handkerchief? No. But they, you know, this is the dynamic that I think that a lot of times these girls, these teenage girls are running into, right? These running into stuff online, guys don't know how to talk, guys who are afraid to talk, and so therefore they're having to quote unquote move or get into their masculinity in order to get some things accomplished, because presumably they want the company of a young boy, right? They want to meet somebody, they want to have a conversation, they want to maybe one day, you know, get married one day, and you got to practice that stuff. You got to practice having conversations. You got to practice, you know, rejecting boys in a nice way sometimes, right? So you got to practice. You got to talk about all this kind of stuff. So girl, those are some of the things that I think that are the challenges that girls are running into, and this is how I would prepare them. Now that's for the shy boys, right? On the other side, you got the other side of the aisle, where the girls are running into guys who are totally gamed up, and they got to watch themselves. And this is what I used to tell my daughter and my two little goddaughters, right? These boys out here who are gamed up, I would say this is what I would say. These boys out here who are gamed up, you got to watch them, right? And you got to carefully vet them, and you got to be selective about who you give your love and attention to. You got to be careful about who you give your love and attention to. And these boys out here will put it on you. They'll whisper sweet nothings in your ear. Shoot, this is happening to 40 and 50-year-olds, right? They're whispering sweet nothings in your ear. Next thing you know, you're dropping panties and having babies and stuff, or catching STDs and stuff, right? So you got to be careful and selective and properly vet these people, particularly if you're looking for a long-term relationship. Now, there is a thing now where people are just looking to hook up. You know, teenage girls are just looking to hook up, right? There's peer pressure just to sleep around, and what are you saving your virginity for? What are you saving this for? Right? That's another form of peer pressure, that you got to go out there and just do this, do that, and, you know, sleep with this boy and think racking up numbers is the thing to do. And, you know, no matter how much guys say that this is absolutely repulsive, no matter how much they say that, it's absolutely repulsive. And the more numbers that you have, the more disqualified a woman would become from being a wife. That ladies don't want to hear that. You know, why isn't it the same? You know, men and women, we're not the same. I know we want to think that, I know we want to push that, but you ask any guy, you walk, if he was walking through a theater, a comedy club, or whatever, if he wants to know that his woman in there that he's bring on his arm has been with all these dudes in here. But this is becoming passé. This is becoming old-fashioned, right? You're saving it. What are you saving it for? And I played a video before. This lady saying you ought to just go out there and just sleep with anybody. Okay, you don't got to listen to the uncles. You don't got to listen to your unks. But when you're not getting the result that you want, right? So we got a group of boys who are incels, who, again, I don't like that term because I think they can get it if they want it. They might not be able to get relationships, but they can certainly get some cookie. So you got a group of boys who are so shy, bashful, feel as if there's no reward for them, that they're not even trying. Then you got a bunch of other dudes, the top 10% or whatever of teenage boys in 20-year-olds, whatever, and they're snatching up all the women, and they're quote unquote running through them, giving them a bunch of high body counts and stuff, and and then they're being asked, the girls are being asked about that later on in life, and then claiming that it's weird and creepy. Why is the guy asking me about my body count? Why does he care about my body count? Because men care. Because men care. I know it may not seem valid to you, because we got protections, we got medicines to eliminate diseases, we can do things about pregnancy. So what does it matter what I slept with years ago? But we now know through scientific research that women release different chemicals, and pair bonding issues and all this kind of stuff, right? So it matters, right? And I was watching a video the other day. I don't know if I'll clip it in here, but I was watching a video the other day, and there's one woman who was completely rude to her husband, and she in a fit of anger and rage, she complained about his size. The only way that she knows to compare the size, the only way that she knows to compare the size is because she's got all these different partners. I know it's old-fashioned. I know what I'm saying is old-fashioned and it's unpopular, but it's the truth. If you don't have all these different partners, you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. You know, so I'm gonna catch heat for that statement better. But listen, this is the truth. This is the truth, right? So running through a bunch of dudes, it's not in your best interest, right? As a woman, it's just not. I think you got to be selective and protective. But again, the selectivity in your mindset about protecting your self-esteem and self-worth, it's going out the window, right? There's no more shame. It's now shameful and embarrassing. How come you don't have a body? Oh, how come you only got one body at you're 18 years old? How come you only got sleep? Girl, go out there and go to college and sleep with all these different dudes. Girl, try yourself out with a couple of different girls in your sorority. Okay. And then but look at the long-term effects of that, right? Sometimes, as teenagers, you have a hard time convincing them that the things that they do today matter in the long term, right? The things that matter today matter in the long term. There's a video, again, that I just saw recently where this teacher was trying to explain to these students that, knowing math is important for later on, just basic math. And he was teaching an algebra course, and these students just don't get it. So as a parent, you have a hard time convincing them that. And listen, I can remember telling my I call them my nieces, my goddaughters, that, having these conversations with them, and them looking at me like, yo, everything I'm saying was old school. And everything I'm saying was old school. Nobody thinks like that. These boys don't all think like that. They really do like me. They really do love me. I used to tell them, listen, these boys don't like you. These boys do not like you. They do not. They ain't trying to walk on the beach with you. They're not trying to walk in the park with you. They are trying to, quote unquote, in the modern day vernacular, hit. Right? They are trying to get something under their belt. Their hormones are raging. Yes, your hormones are raging too. Everybody's hormones are raging, but now there's just this acquiescence to give into that because, or there's this mindset it's okay to give into that because we got pregnancies, or we got unaliving procedures of little babies, and baby removal procedures, and we've got the morning after and Plan B and all. Okay, but what emotional, psychological damage is that doing to you in the long term? What emotional and psychological damage is that doing to you in the long term? What type of pair bonding power or whatever will you have or not have later on in life? Yeah. So those are some of the things that ladies got to deal with, right? And you got to deal with your own self-esteem issues. I think that weight, as more kids are sitting in the house with the girls, exercising and all that, I think that all that is going to be it's an issue in greater proportion than the past. So you got to watch all that, right? What would I tell my sons? And again, I raised my son and a couple of stepsons. Well, they were only in my house one at a time, but what would I tell them? Or what I think you should tell your kids? I think they, number one, take education seriously as boys. Take education seriously as a boy. And I would stick more in their life. I would definitely take from both genders. I would definitely get off. I would definitely not give them cell phones until they're 18 years old. 18, not 16, not 15, 18. I would not give them cell phones until they're 18. I would not even, looking back now, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't even allow them to play video games. I know it keeps them in the house and this, that, and the other, or at least limit their time, maybe an hour a day or something like that. Probably limited would probably be better. Give them an hour a day or just on the weekends or something like that. But going outside, entertaining the world, engaging with the world, climbing trees, falling off, scraping your knee, getting on a bike, building stuff in the backyard, building tree houses, forts, playing with a little engine, see if you could take the engine off an old lawnmower, put it on a bicycle. Just try, get out there and try stuff, right? I just think that I wish I would have done more of that. I wish I would have done more of that. That's what I think that is missing from this present generation. Um, yeah. So I would definitely get the boys outside, get them active, get them climbing trees, pulling themselves up, going for long bicycle rides. Going to the beach, playing in the sand, going swimming. And for a long time, and just really getting them out there and enjoying that. I would definitely, with the TVs, with the computers and all this, monitor it, have really, really strong protections, and doing what you can do and talking to them about this adult movie content, and doing the best you can to make sure that they don't get addicted to that, because they may develop issues later on in life, when they finally are 18 or 16, or whenever they try to engage in the first couple times, and they just can't perform, because of their brain is now hooked on the images and all that. I would definitely monitor that and really be on it about that type of stuff. I would get out there and encourage. I know, I grew up in a very religious household, so encouraging guys to go out there and talk to girls wasn't the strongest of things. But you need to get out there and talk to your children, or talk to the boys, and get them to be men and masculine. Go out there and go over there and talk to that girl. She might give you the ick face, and she might be disgusted, but you tried. And you got to learn from this mistake, right? Just like you climb up a tree and fall down, scrape your knee, you learn something. You get stronger. Your muscles get stronger as you're pulling yourself up. So that's the same thing. That's the same type of thing you got to engage in the real world, and get out there and just talk to people. That's a big component. And just developing bravery, masculinity. Of course, telling the boys to treat the women like ladies. And you got to teach the girls, to be receptive to the ladylike treatment. If girls are now growing up with this mentality that they don't need men, and that they don't need you to hold the door open for them, or you can do anything a boy can do, and he don't have to be chivalrous, and he don't have to. What's the next generation going to look like? I mean, we're going to have a bunch of boys with the girls who don't feel it's necessary to be protectors. Something's going to happen, and they're going to run away just as fast as the girls because, oh, she's got it, right? I'm telling you the way that I think. Some of this stuff is going to seem old fashioned. I mean, years ago I heard this statement, that the things that we believe today, the things that our grandmothers believe, or grandparents believe, we're embarrassed by today. So, these things that I'm saying are more than likely on their way out. They're more than likely on their way out. The times are changing, women are changing, they're adjusting, they're bossing up, and they're going to tell, a woman who's a boss CEO is going to tell her daughter to be completely something different, and to be strong, independent of men, and look for an equal 50-50 partnership. What does that mean? And, are they going to be animalistically attracted to that person later on in life? I just think that it presents all kind of problems. And if you look at, the divorce rates, I think that it exemplifies that. Men are marrying less, refusing to engage, and the divorce rates are up. That's all kind of disengagement when there's not this polarity in the sexes, which caused the birth of or caused the growth of the human race. One of the factors, right? The more masculine, the more feminine, those two polarities came together, and they created something. Now we want to equal everything out. Nobody wants that. I don't think that the vast majority of women want a man who has a great deal of feminine qualities. And I don't think, and I know that a vast majority of men don't want a woman who has masculine qualities. They don't want that. They're not attracted to it. It doesn't get them going. Doesn't get either one of their genders engines going, right? I would definitely take my kids there's no way in the world I would let my kids go to public schools. If a teenage kid, I don't know how I would navigate that. Either, if you can afford private school or homeschooling, but this nonsense is going on out here. There's no way I would let him in school. There's no way I would let him in. No way. I guess some things are changing. I read something in that some of these laws are changing, or rules or whatever are changing in Britain. So maybe it'll come over here to the U.S. as far as this whole woke ideology and all this kind of stuff. So those are some other things. 24 minutes. These are some other things that if how I would prepare my children for dating. The boys out here, you got to tell them to get out, got to get them off the games, and got to challenge them to get out there and see the world and enjoy the world and embrace the world. The boys in particular, you need masculine leadership type of men. There's a crisis of hiring for corrections, for in police departments, and in the military recruitment, because these masculine type of jobs have been frowned on. I was watching someone who I agree with. He was a guy who teaches defensive tactics, and he was talking about to police officers. He's talking about we've gone so far, shifted so far into making sure that police officers are reactive, that they're not getting hurt. And I agree with that. I used to teach defensive tactics, so I understand that, right? We tell them, we got cops. We got cops backing up. I can remember when I used to teach defensive tactics, we used to tell them, don't back up. Somebody's threatening you, whatever, you advance on them, right? We used to tell them that. We got cops backing up with the OC spray, backing up with tasers, because they don't want to become viral memes and stuff, man. I think we got to really take a look at that. Not that I'm about censoring or whatever, but that stuff is hurting law enforcement. And if it starts to hurt them, it's going to start to hurt us, because people are going to become emboldened. This is just the truth. People are going to become emboldened to hurt you, because the cops aren't going to do anything, or because they're going to get a slap on the wrist, or by the time cops get there, they're going to be apprehensive. And then you got to step up and be your own protector. And meanwhile, if you haven't taken the necessary courses, be it self-defense or jujitsu or firearms, you're not going to be able to defend yourself, right? That's another thing too. If you're talking about the boys, I mean, really, boys and girls, for exercise sake, should be in self-defense classes. There's all kind of wrestling and jujitsu stuff going on out here. I think you definitely should enroll your kids in that, give them a little bit of self-confidence and knowing that they can defend themselves. So those are all things that I think that you really got to engage with your children in these days and times, in these teenagers, man, because they are really, really struggling to find their place. And particularly for the young boys. For young boys, they are struggling to find their place. And it's ironic, because a lot of these people who are complaining the most are these ladies. These mothers, in particular white ladies and white mothers, are complaining about their boys. Why are they complaining? Because they are used to masculinity. Their fathers, their brothers, rough and tough and tumble, and did all this. They're used to masculinity. It's the unfortunately, through a number of things, the black community is not used to that type of thing, right? Our masculinity was always punished. Right? Boys who were acting up in school got more suspensions. We got arrested, right, for doing the same thing that other boys were doing, right? So our masculinity was punished. Therefore, the ladies were pushed into a role of they got to speak up for their brothers, speak up for their husbands, speak up for their wives got to speak up, for their husbands and their cousins and this, that, and the other. Because if the men did it, then they were immediately arrested, immediately suspended, right? So this has helped to create this atmosphere of where boys felt tamped down in their masculinity. And now I bring up the race thing because now white women are feeling the same type of suppression, or seeing or witnessing the same type of suppression that their boys were, that the black boys were dealing with. And now they don't like it in their little boys. They don't like it when the boys are suspended or put on Ritalin or put on these other medications to calm them down, or suspended or told that masculinity is wrong and this, that, and the other. Right? They don't like that. And now they're seeing their boys sit in a house where black boys were sat in the house, or couldn't go outside, or told to come home at a certain time, or don't be caught here, or just running around without supervision, right? Always scared for their boys, right? I I had plenty of my uncles and aunts and my best friend's mother and grandmother used to tell us, listen, this is how you act. This is how you got to act and maneuver in the world. And now white kids are now hearing similar, not certainly to the racial extent, but they're hearing similar things, right? You tamp yourself down, watch your masculinity, watch your patriarchy, watch your entitlement and all kind of other garbage, about just, so so a lot of these ladies are complaining about this, right? Complaining about it, right? And what's happening to my boy? My son don't want to go outside, he wants to play video games, right? He gets shot down by a girl. My son is a 30-year-old virgin, don't want to leave the house. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I just want to drop this right quick. I got to go for a walk and do some work. So again, I appreciate the comment. I appreciate the comment, and check out my playlist. Check out my playlist addressing, ladies and the guys, and I addressed a lot of this already. These are some of the things, some of the challenges that I think that if you're going to prepare your kids for dating and mating and all this, right? And it's a tough situation because now the girls have to be more aggressive. And that's going to be a role reversal and putting them into their masculine. And if they start off the relationship like that, then they're going to think they got to pay for the dates. They got to think that they got to initiate the dates. They got to think that they got to do all the talking on the phone. And the guy's just going to be on easy mode. And now it's because if he says the wrong thing, or if he's scared to approach because he might get complained about in school. He might get complained about in the gym. He might get so now he's got to take this passenger princess type of role where he's not as assertive, not as aggressive, not as masculine, and that's going to turn the ladies off. But then they're going to grow up thinking that this is the way, and this is how the slow role reversal goes along. They're going to think that this is the way. And it's going to put them in the position of power. And you got guys out here just thinking that they are just powerless. So you got to wonder if this is all just part of the plan, right? Just give the women all the power because, they'll be able to manage that power better. But there's no proof of that, right? We got a bunch of teachers running around out here sleeping with these students all day and night. We got politicians out here, female politicians, female principals, female people who are in the same positions of power, not to the same percentage and degree that men have done it, but that may just grow because they're like, okay, well, I got money, I got power, and this, and I got to see this cute looking mail delivery guy, this cute looking IT guy, and I'm gonna get him to do whatever, and now I got all the power. So we are in this gender war we got going on, man. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And so we'll have a full role reversal one day, and with just girls just running the guys and just telling them what to do, and it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy, right? Yeah, and you see this kind of stuff in what's this show, The Orville? I'm ranting now. There was a show, The Orville, and probably some other futuristic shows where the whole civilizations are just run by women, and running the guys. And there's a TV show years ago, Futurama. They did a show about that. Snooze do. And but they didn't have any men in their civilization. But one of the shows one of the episodes on the show, The Orville, the guys were just punks, right? They just running around, the women are just grabbing them and just telling them, I want you for the night. To replace one repressive system with another is not the way. If you want equality and balance and all this. So listen, I don't know. We got a lot of stuff to do. We got a lot of stuff to do, a lot of work to make, and a lot of stuff to do, a lot of work to make, and but getting these boys ready for this future. Yeah, man, it's crazy, and getting the girls ready too. So, let me know your thoughts and your opinions. What else would you prepare or tell your teenage children about dating and mating? How would you navigate? How would you navigate telling your children about how to date? Because I didn't even bring up talking about sex because they're getting that from the internet. I mean, they're hearing this at 8, 9, 10 years old, right? So you're waiting until you're talking to your teenager about sex. You're late. You're late. I remember one time I was trying to talk to my kid about it. I thought it was doing good. He's like, oh man, I already know about all this. Good Lord. So you probably got to start at 6 or 7. And I'm not even kidding. because they're seeing it, right? The internet, they're just seeing it accidentally, right? That's why I take the phones away from them. But listen, I'm ranting right now. Let me know your thoughts and your opinions. Tell me what else I missed and how you would prepare your sons and your daughters for in particular for dating. How they pay for dates, how not to get taken. Oh, here's another big thing. Boys, how not to get taken advantage of on dates. I talked about girls trying to take advantage of people, how the boys should not get taken advantage of on dates. You shouldn't be buying these girls little stuff. You shouldn't be doing all this crazy stuff, have them running your pockets, because if you start that stuff now, if you become a simp at 15, you'll be a simp at 35, or you'll wake up one day and be angry. And be angry about all the simping that you did. There is a video, I wish I could find it because it was so telling. I've told this story in other shows, other podcasts, other episodes, in which a guy who said dating in his 30s, that was the caption, dating in his 30s, at the top of the screen, dating in your 30s. He walks into a grocery store, he sees this girl, beautiful woman, black couple, black dude, it's obviously a skit, black woman, black dude. He's looking at her hair, how much her hair and makeup and nails is going to cost for upkeep. He's looking at her watch, $900 watch, looking at her shoes, $1,500 shoes, looking at her bag, whatever that was, $2,500. He does cost benefit analysis, and he says to him, and he just keeps on walking. He's like, it's just not worth it. Why did this guy come to that in his 30s? Because in his 20s and his teenagers years, he recognized that being a simp, he was simping out then. Now he's in his 30s and recognizing this ain't the way. And this woman right here, who I'm looking at, who is definitely beautiful, and but her cost and upkeep is just too much, and I'm not going to maintain it. I'm not going to maintain that. And for what? For headaches, for arguments, for sex twice a week, 2-3 times a week. So guys are waking up. So you got to tell your boys to wake up or never go to sleep. Never go to sleep at when they're 15. Don't start simping. Don't start simping, and all that. So yeah. So that's the most important thing I would definitely tell a boy. Don't start that nonsense. This girl wants gifts, and listen. This is such a change. I hear it. Don't think I'm not aware of this. This is such a change from the past. We used to bring girls flowers. We used to bring them, roses, buy them cards for no reason, right? This was stuff I used to do as a 15, 16, 18-year-old kid. I did all that. You can't do that today. Not because I don't think that they don't want it or because they don't deserve it, but because they're not appreciative of it. And they'll think, okay, it's this today. Now I want a gold chain. Now I want new earrings. Now I want this. And not because it's Valentine's Day or because we're celebrating a 1-month anniversary or 6-month anniversary. We're not celebrating anything. They just want it just because it's Tuesday. I got to get out here. People are getting out here, walking their dogs and stuff. So listen, these are my thoughts, my opinions about what you should do or not should do for boys, in particular for these boys. Don't let them start simping. Don't let them start simping. I know as a woman, you may think, and think about this. You're a mother raising a son. Do you want to see him buying all these little girls that he's talking to, all this stuff? Okay, he's talking to one girl at a time. Do you want to see him running his pockets? He's got a little job. He's got a little job at McDonald's or Burger King or wherever he's working at, or maybe he's doing something online, or he's trying to make money. And every time you see him, he don't have no money, or he's flossing, or you see him cash apping girls, and he's checking this, and you should be checking his phone and all that. You should be checking his phone, and you see him sending these girls Venmo and cash and PayPaling these girls this money just because, and $20, $40, always paying for dates and this, that, and the other. Do you want that for your son? Do you want that for your son? Do you want that for your son? So, hit me in the comment section. Make this long enough. Much love and peace, everyone.